Imagine waking up to a world where the morning sun isn't alone, and instead of a gentle sunrise, two blazing spheres dominate the sky, casting their intense, unrelenting light across the horizon. It's a mind-bending thought, and while it sounds like something from a science fiction novel, imagining the science behind such a scenario shows just how different life would be in a two-sun system. From global climate to how we measure time, our world would be altered in astonishing and sometimes alarming ways. If Earth orbited two suns, the combined solar energy would amplify beyond anything we know. Just one sun supports life here, delicately balancing temperatures to support ecosystems, oceans, and everything we see around us. Adding a second sun to the mix would mean twice the solar energy, setting off a chain reaction across the planet. Earth's surface would likely become significantly hotter, especially in areas closer to the equator. Over time, temperatures would rise globally, creating an environment where the extremes would intensify and familiar ecosystems would face overwhelming pressure to adapt. Under two suns, the polar regions, already sensitive to climate change, would undergo rapid and perhaps irreversible transformations. These regions, home to vast ice caps and unique ecosystems, would begin to experience a level of warming that could melt ice at unprecedented rates. This process wouldn't just be a slow thaw, it would lead to a rapid disappearance of polar ice, contributing to massive rises in sea levels worldwide. Coastal cities that currently enjoy bustling economies, bustling ports, and millions of residents would be at high risk. As the ice melts, communities around the world would start to feel the impact in ways that would be impossible to ignore. With the increased solar radiation, our planet would be in a continuous state of flux, facing ever-shifting weather patterns that we could barely predict. The traditional boundaries between seasons might blur, and extreme weather events, from intense storms to unrelenting heat waves, would become the new norm. The atmospheric systems we rely on for rain, snow, and stable seasons would no longer function the way we're used to. Instead, unpredictable, severe weather could strike at any time, with storms more intense and widespread than anything previously recorded. In this unusual world of two suns, life would adapt, but not without struggle. The plants, animals, and other organisms making up our ecosystems might not survive the drastic increase in solar energy and heat, which would push many to the brink. Species in every habitat, from tropical rainforests to arid deserts, would face survival challenges on a scale unlike anything seen before. With two suns in the sky, the continuous blast of solar energy would drive dramatic shifts in climate. Earth's jet streams, responsible for the planet's major weather systems, would go haywire under this excess energy, leading to more erratic and powerful storms. These chaotic jet streams would likely make extreme events such as hurricanes, tornadoes, and heat waves both more frequent and more intense. Areas that once enjoyed predictable seasons could find themselves experiencing summer-like heat nearly year-round, while once temperate regions might swing wildly between scorching heat and brief cooling spells. This surge in extreme weather wouldn't only reshape landscapes, it would also have profound consequences for biodiversity. As the climate transforms, plants and animals that have evolved over thousands of years to live in specific conditions would struggle to survive. Biodiversity would likely plummet as species face conditions that outpace their ability to adapt. Deserts might expand, engulfing nearby regions as plants wither under the blazing light of twin suns. Water sources in these areas would also quickly evaporate, leaving little for native life to rely on. Meanwhile, rainforests, which thrive in stable, humid conditions, might dry out in this altered climate, leading to die-offs on a massive scale. This decline in plant life would reverberate up the food chain. Herbivores reliant on specific vegetation would be at risk, and in turn, their predators would face dwindling food sources. Marine life would also suffer, as warming oceans lead to coral bleaching and the collapse of marine ecosystems. While some highly adaptive species might survive, entire ecosystems could be restructured, leaving the environment unrecognizable. This chain reaction would create a world in which only the most adaptable and resilient species might find a way to endure, amidst an environment reshaped by two relentless suns. In a two-sun scenario, our familiar day-night cycle would be lost. The perpetual daylight, or at most a dim twilight, would transform our sense of time and disrupt natural sleep-wake rhythms, known as circadian rhythms, that have guided life for millennia. Human bodies, accustomed to the rhythmic cues of sunrise and sunset, would struggle to adapt. Constant exposure to light would likely lead to widespread insomnia, mental fatigue, and physical health issues, as people attempt to sleep in what would feel like an endless day. A new society-wide approach to sleep would become essential, potentially involving designated blackout shelters or artificial light control zones to simulate night. Beyond sleep, people's routines, work schedules, and even cultural practices would have to change. In a world of continuous light, the concept of a 24-hour day would no longer apply. Instead, society might transition to a new kind of cycle, one based on artificial darkness for specific hours, creating personalized nights. This change in timekeeping could lead to a completely restructured lifestyle, where daytime activities stretch out indefinitely, blurring the lines between work, rest, and leisure. This constant daylight would also impact agriculture and food supply. Plants, like people, rely on darkness to regulate growth cycles. With uninterrupted light, many crops could become overstressed, facing challenges in flowering and fruiting stages. Farmers might have to invent new techniques, perhaps growing crops under controlled, shaded environments to replicate nighttime. Traditional farming practices would become less effective, leading to potential food shortages and shifting dietary habits, with reliance on lab-grown foods or other alternatives. The cumulative effect of these changes on human society would be profound. Sleep-deprived, facing disrupted schedules, and reeling from food insecurity, humanity would find itself in an era of unprecedented adaptation. As we wrap up our journey into a two-sun scenario, it's crucial to consider the larger cosmic impact. With two suns in our solar system, Earth's position within the habitable zone, the sweet spot for life, would be highly unstable. Even slight shifts in this zone could cause regions of the planet to experience extreme conditions. With both suns exerting gravitational pulls, Earth's orbit could become erratic, causing significant seasonal changes or even threatening our long-term stability within the solar system. Moreover, the additional sun would increase the frequency and intensity of solar storms and coronal mass ejections, supercharging space weather events. These intense bursts of radiation would disrupt Earth's magnetic field, posing serious risks to global satellite and communication systems, GPS, and even power grids. Imagine widespread, prolonged power outages on top of the environmental and social challenges from constant sunlight. Humanity would be forced to develop new technologies to shield our infrastructure from the sun's intense activity, which could require a massive, costly overhaul of power and communication networks. Night skies as we know them would disappear. With two suns, the perpetual twilight would render stargazing obsolete, with only the brightest stars occasionally visible. This lack of natural darkness would impact everything from scientific observations to cultural and spiritual practices centered around the night sky. Observatories would likely be forced to move to far-off regions, where controlled darkness could be artificially created. For astronomers, this constant glow would be a significant loss, as Earth's two-sun system would make tracking distant galaxies, star formations, and potential extraterrestrial signals nearly impossible. In a final twist, our beloved moon would also be heavily impacted. A second sun would alter the gravitational dynamics that govern its orbit and phases. This change could destabilize the moon's position, affecting tides and the subtle gravitational balance that has shaped Earth's rhythms for billions of years. Rising and unpredictable tides would endanger coastal communities further, adding another layer of threat to Earth's ecosystems and infrastructures, already under strain from flooding and extreme weather. In this new era of relentless heat, chaotic orbits, and a transformed night sky, life on Earth would never be the same. The planet would be forced to adapt to this cosmic upheaval, a world where humanity's resilience and ingenuity would be tested at every turn.